Hello, it's Randi Rhodes. Here's a clip from our show, and go to randyrhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy a stinking podcast.
Mary had a little man.
The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
During my freshman and sophomore school years, when I was 14 and 15 years old, my group of friends intersected with Brett and his friends for a short period of time. I had been friendly with a classmate of Brett's for a short time during my freshman and sophomore year. And it was through that connection that I attended a number of parties that Brett also attended. We did not know each other well, but I knew him and he knew me. In the summer of 1982, like most summers, I spent most every day at the Columbia Country Club in Chevy Chase, Maryland, swimming and practicing diving. One evening that summer, after a day of diving at the club, I attended a small gathering at a house in the Bethesda area. There were 4 boys I remember specifically being at the house: Brett Kavanaugh, Mark Judge, a boy named PJ, and one other boy whose name I cannot recall. I also remember my friend Leland attending. I do not remember all of the details of how that gathering came together, but like many that summer, it was almost surely a spur-of-the-moment gathering. I truly wish I could be more helpful with more detailed answers to all of the questions that have and will be asked about how I got to the party and where it took place and so forth. I don't have all the answers, and I don't remember as much as I would like to. But the details about that night that bring me here today are the ones I will never forget. They have been seared into my memory and have haunted me episodically as an adult. When I got to the small gathering, people were drinking beer in a small living room, family room type area on the first floor of the house. I drank 1 beer. Brett and Mark were visibly drunk. Early in the evening, I went up a very narrow set of stairs leading from the living room to a second floor to use the restroom. When I got to the top of the stairs, I was pushed from behind into a bedroom across from the bathroom. I couldn't see who pushed me. Brett and Mark came into the bedroom and locked the door behind them. There was music playing in the bedroom. It was turned up louder by either Brett or Mark once we were in the room. I was pushed onto the bed, and Brett got on top of me. He began running his hands over my body and grinding into me. I yelled, hoping that someone downstairs might hear me, and I tried to get away from him, but his weight was heavy. Brett groped me and tried to take off my clothes. He had a hard time because he was very inebriated, and because I was wearing a 1-piece bathing suit underneath my clothing. I believed he was going to rape me. I tried to yell for help. When I did, Brett put his hand over my mouth to stop me from yelling. This is what terrified me the most and has had the most lasting impact on my life. It was hard for me to breathe, and I thought that Brett was accidentally going to kill me. Both Brett and Mark were drunkenly laughing during the attack. They seemed to be having a very good time. Mark seemed ambivalent, at times urging Brett on, and at times telling him to stop. A couple of times I made eye contact with Mark and thought he might try to help me, but he did not. During this assault, Mark came over and jumped on the bed twice while Brett was on top of me. And the last time that he did this, we toppled over and Brett was no longer on top of me. I was able to get up and run out of the room. Directly across from the bedroom was a small bathroom. I ran inside the bathroom and locked the door. I waited until I heard Brett and Mark leave the bedroom, laughing, and loudly walk down the narrow stairway, pinballing off the walls on the way down. I waited, and when I did not hear them come back up the stairs, I left the bathroom, went down the same stairwell, through the living room, and left the house. I remember being on the street and feeling an enormous sense of relief that I had escaped that house and that Brett and Mark were not coming outside after me. Brett's assault on me drastically altered my life. For a very long time, I was too afraid and ashamed to tell anyone these details. I did not want to tell my parents that I, at age 15, was in a house without any parents present, drinking beer with boys. I convinced myself that because Brett did not rape me, I should just move on and just pretend that it didn't happen.
Okay, that's Dr. Ford. And if you missed her opening statement, that was the description of the attack as she remembers it. Brett Kavanaugh has given his opening statement.
I was not at the party described by Dr. Ford. This confirmation process has become a national disgrace. The Constitution gives the Senate an important role in the confirmation process, but you have replaced advice and consent with search and destroy. Since my nomination in July, there's been a frenzy on the left to come up with something, anything, to block my confirmation. Shortly after I was nominated, the Democratic Senate leader said he would, quote, oppose me with everything he's got. A Democratic senator on this committee publicly referred to me as evil. Evil. Think about that word. And said that those who supported me were, quote, complicit in evil. Another Democratic senator on this committee said, quote, Judge Kavanaugh is your worst nightmare. A former head of the Democratic National Committee said, quote, Judge Kavanaugh will threaten the lives of millions of Americans for decades to come. I understand the passions of the moment, but I would say to those senators, your words have meaning. Millions of Americans listened carefully to you. Given comments like those, is it any surprise that people have been willing to do anything, to make any physical threat against my family, to send any violent email to my wife, to make any kind of allegation against me and against my friends, to blow me up and take me down? You sowed the wind. For decades to come, I fear that the whole country will reap the whirlwind.
Okay, so she described what happened that night in really gory detail. And he decided that he would show up and blame Democrats for her testimony. He actually went further in his partisanship.
The behavior of several of the Democratic members of this committee at my hearing a few weeks ago was an embarrassment. But at least it was just a good old-fashioned attempt at borking. Those efforts didn't work. When I did at least okay enough at the hearings that it looked like I might actually get confirmed, a new tactic was needed. Some of you were lying in wait and had it ready. This first allegation was held in secret for weeks by a Democratic member of this committee and by staff. It would be needed only if you couldn't take me out on the merits. When it was needed, this allegation was unleashed and publicly deployed over Dr. Ford's wishes. And then, as no doubt was expected, if not planned, came a long series of false last-minute smears designed to scare me and drive me out of the process before any hearing occurred. Crazy stuff. Gangs, illegitimate children, fights on boats in Rhode Island. All nonsense, reported breathlessly and often uncritically by the media. This has destroyed my family and my good name. A good name built up through decades of very hard work and public service at the highest levels of the American government.
All right, so he is blaming the Democrats for Christine Ford's sworn testimony. Her words are less true because they were communicated in private to Anna Eshoo, a Democrat in the House, and Dianne Feinstein, a Democrat in the Senate. So her words are less true. I have heard nothing about illegal children or illegitimate children. I know what the Rhode Island thing is. The Senate Republican staff asked him on a phone call that the transcripts they released indicate that the Republican staffers asked Brett Kavanaugh about a anonymous story that was presented to Cory Booker, to the Republican senator from Colorado, Cory Gardner, and they asked him about it. That was not in the media. That was the Senate staff asking about an anonymous phone call that they received, that Colorado Senator, Republican Senator Cory Gardner received. He is making stuff up already, okay? Now, if he is so concerned about her testimony, and he knows that it's coming 10 days ago, which he does, he knew, why didn't he ask the FBI to open up the background check and clear his name? Here is where he gets very threatening.
This whole 2-week effort has been a calculated and orchestrated political hit, fueled with apparent pent-up anger about President Trump and the 2016 election.
Oh, my God.
Fear that has been unfairly stoked about my judicial record. Revenge on behalf of the Clintons.
Oh, my God.
And millions of dollars in money from outside left-wing opposition groups.
Oh, my God.
This is a circus.
Thank you,
The
Clarence.
consequences will extend long past my nomination.
Really?
The consequences will be with us for decades.
Really?
This grotesque and coordinated character assassination will dissuade competent and good people of all political persuasions from serving our country. And as we all know, in the United States political system of the early 2000s, what goes around comes around.
Oh, wow.
I am an optimistic guy. I always try to be on the sunrise side of the mountain, to be optimistic about the day that is coming. But today, I have to say that I fear for the future.
All right, so he's decided to turn this into partisan attacks instead of a woman who has nothing to gain coming forward, receiving death threats. Her family's been separated. They're in different places. They've been in 2 different places over the last 10 days. He says this is revenge for Donald Trump being elected. He says this is revenge for the Clintons, who he hunted, by the way. He says that the Democrats are doing this with millions of dollars when he's received at least $10 million from the Federalist Society in ads. He quotes Clarence Thomas when he says this whole thing is a circus. But he never asks for an investigation. He refuses to allow witnesses to come forward. He diminishes her words as being less true because Democrats asked her to testify.
Clear for takeoff.
Randi Rhodes Air Force. Air Force. RandiRhodes.com.
Oh, it's September. $5 off full packs of meat sticks and smokies at herkyjerky.com. Buffalo, elk, venison sticks, and beef smokies, they're always a hit. And Herky Jerky fans, you've labored all year, so they decided to reward you, and not just for Labor Day, but for the whole month of September. Since Herky Jerky started back in 1992, the backbone of their company delicious meat snacks. They're the perfect high-protein, low-fat snack for everyone. They're so delicious. No nasty grease or byproducts like the leading national brand. And the chew, it's just the perfect texture and just the right amount of spice mix. And with the bulk size packs and the long shelf life, you get a big bang for your buck. And yeah, they can be refrigerated and frozen. Sticks come in 4 different meats: buffalo, elk, and venison, mild or hot, 3 flavors of beef smokies, mild, jalapeno, and honey, and each one is bursting with flavor and guaranteed to be delivered to your door fresh with free shipping on 2 packs or more. And now for the entire month of September, $5 off each full pack. There's no limit on the number you can buy and no promo code needed. So now is the perfect time to stock up on award-winning sticks. The best in the business, bar none. Half-pack smokies are not included, but we do want to say thank you for all the loyal Herky Jerky customers and your continued support. Visit herkyjerky.com now, herkyjerky.com.
If you want to continue enjoying great shows like Randi Rhodes, Stephanie Miller, Tom Hartman, Leslie Marshall, and so many others on the free mobile Progressive Voices platform, please go to progressivevoices.com and press the donate button right now. Thank you.
Progressive Voices needs your help. Progressive Voices has grown in terms of audience, and that has also significantly increased their bandwidth costs, and they've tried to protect the limited commercial nature of their stream. And to keep up with costs, they need your help. You could say they're sort of victims of their own success. With nearly 1 million regular listeners now, the cost of operating the stream has grown beyond their wildest expectations. So if you want to continue enjoying The David Pakman Show on the free mobile Progressive Voices platform, please pitch in now. Go to progressivevoices.com and press the donate button.
Whether you're listening to me, Mark Levine, every Monday and Thursday,
or me, Leslie Marshall, each Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday,
you can hear us from 3 to 4 p.m. Eastern Time on the Progressive Voices Network.
Here's a sample of what you'll hear.
We're at round 2, 27 years after Anita Hill was forced to testify about Clarence Thomas's sexual harassment of her. We have another woman, another professor, Dr. Christine Blasey Ford, talk about something far worse than sexual harassment. Talk about attempted rape. Judge Kavanaugh, she says, forcibly lay on top of her, tried to take off her bathing suit, was so drunk that he couldn't get it done. The music was turned up way loud so that when she screamed, she couldn't be heard. And he covered her mouth after she screamed, while she screamed.
Your whole world burn to the ground. Fury like a woman's gold.
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
All right, so I played you Dr. Ford's opening statement where she describes the attack and why she didn't tell her parents. And I've played you Brett Kavanaugh's parts of Brett Kavanaugh's opening statements where he decides that this is revenge for the Clintons, that this is the Democrats being angry that Trump won an election, that there's been millions of dollars being poured into, I don't know, I guess Christine Ford. Dr. Ford has received millions of dollars, and that this never happened. Okay. Now, I don't know how Dr. Christine Ford would know the names of his friends if she didn't know him. I don't know how Brett Kavanaugh didn't ask for an FBI investigation to include her name, to include her claims, so that there would be an investigation, and that when the Senate, the Republicans on the Judiciary Committee would staff the questioning out to a prosecutor to discredit her, this poor prosecutor, who I'm starting to feel sorry for, wouldn't be doing it blind. She would have had the benefit of an investigation. But the prosecutor, Rachel Mitchell, does not have the benefit of an investigation by the FBI. Brett Kavanaugh is saying that even though he didn't ask for an investigation by the FBI, Christine Ford's words and testimony are less true because she reached out to her local congresswoman, who's a Democrat, who then told her to reach out to Dianne Feinstein, the ranking member on the Judiciary Committee, who's also a Democrat. And because of those facts, those two women who she reached out to after she had called the Washington Post tip line anonymously, that they advised her to hire a lawyer and, take a polygraph test, or to hire a lawyer and, be prepared for what's going to be hurled at her if she would ever come forward. Somehow her words are less true. Let's begin the questioning. They're in recess right now, but I have the questioning. I have the whole thing, okay? So here is Rachel Mitchell, who also questioned Dr. Ford, questioning Brett Kavanaugh.
I want you to take a moment to review the definition that's before you of sexual behavior. Have you had a chance to review it?
I have. I may refer back to it if I can.
Yes, please. I'd like to point out two specific parts. Among the examples of sexual behavior, it includes rubbing or grinding your genitals against somebody, clothed or unclothed. And I would also point out that the definition applies whether or not the acts were sexually motivated, or, for example, horseplay. Do you understand the definition I've given you?
I do.
And again, if at any time you need to review that, please let me know. Dr. Ford has stated that somewhere between 5 or 6 people were present at the gathering on this date. You, Mark Judge, Leland Ingham at the time, or Leland Kaiser now, Patrick P.J. Smith, Dr. Ford, and an unnamed boy. Do you know Mark Judge?
I do.
How do you know him?
He was a friend at Georgetown Prep starting in 9th grade. He's someone we were in our, group of friends. We're a very friendly group in class. You saw the letter that's been sent by my friends from Georgetown Prep. Funny guy, great writer.
What is your relationship with him like now?
I haven't talked to him in a couple of years. We've probably been on, mass emails or group emails that go around among my high school friends.
Okay. And how did you know Patrick Smith?
Also 9th grade, Georgetown Prep. Went by PJ then. He and I lived close to one another. Played football together. He was defensive tackle. I was the cornerback, wide receiver. We carpooled to school along with D. Davis every year, the three of us, for 2 years. I didn't have a car, so one of the two of them would drive every day, and I'd be in the, they'd pick me up.
What's your relationship like with him now?
He lives in the area. I see him once in a while. I haven't seen him since this thing.
Do you know Leland Ingham or Leland Kaiser?
I know of her, and it's possible I, met her in high school at some point at some event. Yeah, I know her. I know of her. And again, I don't want to rule out having crossed paths with her in high school.
You already did.
Similar to your statements about knowing Dr. Ford?
Correct.
Senator Feinstein.
Judge Kavanaugh, it's my understanding that you have denied the allegations by Dr. Ford, Ms. Ramirez, and Ms. Swetnick. Is that correct?
Yes.
all three of these women have asked the FBI to investigate their claims. I listened carefully to what you said. Your concern is evident and clear. And if you're very confident of your position, and you appear to be, why aren't you also asking the FBI to investigate these claims?
Senator, I'll do whatever the committee wants. I wanted a hearing the day after the allegation came up. I wanted to be here that day. Instead, 10 days passed where all this nonsense is coming out, that I'm in gangs, I'm on boats in Rhode Island, I'm in Colorado, I'm cited all over the place. And these things are printed and run breathlessly by cable news. I wanted a hearing the next day. My family's been destroyed by this, Senator. Destroyed.
And
whoever wants, whatever the committee decides, I'm all in immediately. I'm all in immediately.
And the terrible and hard part of this is, when we get an allegation, we're not in a position to prove it or disprove it. Therefore, we have to depend on some outside authority for it. And it just seemed to me then, when these allegations came forward, that you would want the FBI to investigate those claims and clear it up once and for all.
Senator, the committee investigates. It's not for me to say how to do it, but just so you know, the FBI doesn't reach a conclusion. They would give you a couple 302s that just tell you what we said. So I'm here. I wanted to be here. I wanted to be here the next day. It's an outrage that I was not allowed to come and immediately defend my name and say, I didn't do this, and give you all this evidence. I'm not even in D.C. on the weekends in the summer of 1982. This happened on a weekday? Well, when I'm not at a Blair High School for a summer league game? I'm not at Tobin's house working out? I'm not at a movie with Suzanne? I wanted to be here right away.
Well, the difficult thing is that these hearings are set and set by the majority. But I'm talking about getting the evidence and having the evidence looked at. And I don't understand, we hear from the witnesses, but the FBI isn't interviewing them and isn't giving us any facts. So all we have...
You're interviewing me. You're interviewing me. You're doing it, Senator. I'm sorry to interrupt, but you're doing it. There's no conclusions reached.
And what you're saying, if I understand it, is that the allegations by Dr. Ford, Ms. Ramirez, and Ms. Swetnick are wrong.
Yeah, that is emphatically what I'm saying. Emphatically. The Swetnick thing is a joke. That is a farce.
Would you like to say more about it?
No.
Okay. That's it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Mitchell.
Dr. Ford has described you as being intoxicated at a party. Did you consume alcohol during your high school years?
Yes, we drank beer. My friends and I, the boys and girls, yes, we drank beer. I liked beer, still like beer. We drank beer. The drinking age, as I noted, was 18, so the seniors were legal. Senior year in high school, people were legal to drink. And we drank beer. And I said sometimes probably had too many beers, and sometimes other people had too many beers. We drank beer. We liked beer.
What do you consider to be too many beers?
I don't know. Whatever the chart says on your blood alcohol chart.
When you talked to Fox News the other night, you said that there were times in high school when people might have had too many beers on occasion. Does that include you?
Sure.
Okay. Have you ever passed out from drinking?
Passed out would be no, but I've gone to sleep, but I've never blacked out. That's the allegation, and that's wrong.
So let's talk about your time in high school. In high school, after drinking, did you ever wake up in a different location than you remembered passing out or going to sleep?
No.
Did you ever wake up with your clothes in a different condition or fewer clothes on than you remembered when you went to sleep or passed out?
No. No.
Did you ever did anyone ever tell you about something that happened in your presence that you didn't remember during a time that you had been drinking?
No. We drank beer, and so did I think the vast majority of people our age at the time. But in any event, we drank beer and still do. So whatever. Yeah.
During the time in high school when you would be drinking, did anyone ever tell you about something that you did not remember?
No.
Dr. Ford described a small gathering of people at a suburban Maryland home in the summer of 1982. She said that Mark Judge, P.J. Smith, and Leland Ingham also were present, as well as an unknown male, and that the people were drinking to varying degrees. Were you ever at a gathering that fits that description?
No, as I've said in my opening statement.
Dr. Ford described an incident where she was alone in a room with you and Mark Judge. Have you ever been alone in a room with Dr. Ford and Mark Judge?
No.
Dr. Ford described an incident where you were grinding your genitals on her. Have you ever ground or rubbed your genitals against Dr. Ford?
No.
Dr. Ford described an incident where you covered her mouth with your hand. Have you ever covered Dr. Ford's mouth with your hand?
No.
Dr. Ford described an incident where you tried to remove her clothes. Have you ever tried to remove her clothes?
No.
Referring back to the definition of sexual behavior that I have given you, have you ever at any time engaged in sexual behavior with Dr. Ford?
No.
Have you ever engaged in sexual behavior with Dr. Ford, even if it was consensual?
No.
I want to talk about your calendars. You submitted to the committee copies of the handwritten calendars that you've talked about for the months of May, June, July, and August of 1982. You have them in front of you?
I do.
Did you create these calendars in the sense of all the handwriting that's on them?
Yes.
Okay. Is it exclusively your handwriting?
Yes.
When did you make these entries?
In 1982.
Has anything been changed for those since 1982?
No.
Do these calendars represent your plans for each day, or do they document, in other words, prospectively, or do they document what actually occurred more like a diary?
They're both forward-looking and backward-looking, as you can tell by looking at them, because I cross out certain doctor's appointments that didn't happen, or one night where I was supposed to lift weights, I crossed that out because I obviously didn't make it that night. So you can see things that I didn't do crossed out in retrospect. And also when I list the specific people who I was with, that is likely backward-looking.
You explained that you kept these calendars because your father started keeping them in 1978, I believe you said.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you kept them. In other words, you wrote on them, but why did you keep them up until this time?
Well, he's kept them too since 1978, so he's a good role model.
Ms. Mitchell, we'll have to stop.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Judge Kavanaugh has asked for a break, so we'll take a 15.
All right, so they take a break, we'll take a break, and then they did take a 15-minute recess, and we are now caught up. So When we come back, I will play you the next round of questioning, and I believe you will hear from Senator Dick Durbin. I believe you'll hear from Senator Patrick Leahy. Some further questions from Rachel Mitchell, the prosecutor, to whom the Senate Republicans have ceded their authority because they don't want to ask any questions because they don't want any videotape. This is very sick. But I will say, so far we've learned that the women have asked, all of them, have asked for FBI investigations. One woman took a polygraph test. They refused to call any witnesses. They don't have any evidence, one way or the other.
Turn up your mind.
Dear young people,
Don't vote.
don't vote.
Everything's fine the way it is.
Trump. That was us.
He's our guy.
Tax cuts for the rich? Hell yeah. I'm rich as fuck.
Climate change? That's a you problem. I'll be dead soon. Sure, school shootings are sad. But I haven't been in a school for 50 years. I can't keep track of which lives matter.
Sure you don't like it.
So, you'll like some meme on Instagram.
If the weather is nice, maybe you could go to one of those little marches. You might even share this video on Facebook.
But you won't vote.
You young people never do.
But I do.
I do.
I do. Midterms, primaries.
Every single election.
We'll be there, but you won't.
Because we're a generation of doers.
Not whiners.
And we're doing great.
That has to be the best get out the vote ad I've ever seen in my life. Scott found that this morning, and he said, you got to see this, you got to see this. And he was correct. That is awesome because that is what goes on. You've got, the pasty white people, the older ones. I'm getting there. I'm going to be one of those people, not rich as fuck, but I'll be there. And they vote. I vote in every single election. Primaries, midterms, presidential, off year, city council. I mean, they're like young people. You can march, you can protest, you could share memes, you could do whatever you want, but we're voting, and you're not. So I hope that motivates some people. Well, we had National Voter Registration Day, and I think 800,000 people who weren't previously registered to vote. So that's freaking awesome. That's like 1 million more people that registered to vote. Because as you can see by what is going on in the Senate office buildings, in front of the Supreme Court today, protests, lots and lots and lots of women, because ain't no fury like a woman scorned. Ain't no fury like a woman scorned. And these women, all of them, have been scorned. They have been treated like total crap. They have been treated like their lives don't matter. They have been treated like every single survivor of sexual assault has been treated by this government. They have been told that they're lying, or told that they're responsible for their own sexual assault, or told to keep their mouths shut, or told if they tell anybody something bad will happen to them. All those things happened to 3 women, and those are just the names we know. This investigation is completed. I told you yesterday they were holding it till after 6 o'clock. They did hold it. They released it apparently at 4 o'clock this morning, 4 a.m. Chuck Grassley is on the Twitter saying that the report is now in a secure room. There is literally one copy of the report, and you will report to see the report as follows. 8 o'clock, it's going to be the Republican leadership. 9 o'clock, the Democratic leadership. 10 o'clock, Judiciary Committee members. 11 o'clock, maybe everybody else. We don't know. No, it will not be made public. No, you and I will never know what's in that report unless Maggie Haberman or Tom Hamburger or Ryan Grimm or some serious journalist gets a good leak. We will not. It's 46 pages. That's all I know. They talked to Debbie Ramirez in her lawyer's office. That's all I know. They did not talk to any of the 20 corroborating witnesses that she said she had. They did not talk to Jamie Roach, who was Kavanaugh's roommate. They did not talk to Elizabeth Racor, who was Mark Judge's girlfriend, who said Mark Judge confessed to her that he gangbanged women, or at least, he thought he did. They didn't talk to Miss Swetnick. They didn't talk to, this is shocking, they didn't talk to Dr. Christine Blasey Ford. How do you know what else she had? All we had was a prosecutor hired by the GOP named Rachel Mitchell questioning her for 5 minutes. In increments of 5 minutes. That's what we had. Maybe there was more to what she had to say. Maybe she had witness names. Maybe we don't know, because the FBI was told not to talk to her. The FBI was also told, don't interview Kavanaugh. So they didn't talk to him either. This is a sham. This is a cover-up. This is bizarre. This is ugly. And this is going to have what he said, what Kavanaugh said it would have. It's going to have a reverberation and effect on this country for decades to come. Decades. Because Mitch McConnell stood up and, he's calling for the cloture vote. And then they'll vote right away. They'll vote Saturday or Sunday, and they'll confirm him and swear him in. Really, that's how it will happen. It'll happen so freaking fast. And so many people are going to forget about it. Forget about it. Except the Supreme Court's already in session. He's already, all he missed was 2 oral arguments as far as I can tell. I mean, when all of a sudden you go to the pharmacy and you go to get your birth control and you can't get it anymore because the pharmacist is, part of a religious group or an organization, and him or her, they've decided you can't have it. Or you go to get flowers for your wedding. Can't have those. Or a cake. Can't have that. Or you go to vote and you've been purged. Or you're now in a new district and you don't understand why. Because the Supreme Court rubber stamped the map and said, this is perfect. This will keep a Republican majority forever. And we are now a political organization. We are no longer the arbiters of the law. We are now the arbiters and the handmaids of the GOP. And speaking of handmaids, we're all going to be breeders, except for me, because I had a hysterectomy. I mean, this is just unbelievable. This is just crazy. And then all of a sudden, everybody's going to call and go, why can't I, what's going on with my birth control? What's going on with my, why can't I, get health care that covers pre-existing conditions? What happened to those plans? What happened to my district? What happened to my vote? I can't get off the scrubbed list. What happened to that? Yeah. Every facet of your life. Every facet of your life. I got to tell you, this is unbelievable. But here was Senator Jeff Merkley today. Oh, maybe I mismarked it. Yeah, I did. I think it's 25. Yes.
Have you had a chance to go through this FBI report on Judge Kavanaugh?
Yes, I have.
And so what's your reaction?
It's a complete cover-up. I think that just as it was just explained, that Debbie Ramirez team, they provided 20 people who should be interviewed because they had corroborative information. None of them apparently were talked to. We have Dr. Ford, who provided 8 names. None of them were talked to.
8 names.
This was a cherry picking of a few individuals to pretend to do an investigation. This is a complete embarrassment on the reputation of the FBI. And if they did this at the direction of the president, then it's a massive abuse of fairness and justice towards these women who came forward to share their experiences.
What do you say to that there's nothing new to learn there?
Well, there's nothing much new to learn. There are a few details, but nothing much new to learn because they didn't look for information. If you don't interview any of these 28 individuals that these 2 women suggested should be interviewed, then you're going to learn nothing. In other words, they only talk to people in an effort to have a very, very narrow conversation with individuals that they felt would build their case rather than present any information.
Seriously, dude, gotta tell you, she had 8 more names for the FBI, and this is Christine Blasey Ford, and they did not take any of those names from her. There were 20 names that Ms. Deborah Ramirez provided. They didn't talk to any of her witnesses. Jamie Roach, who was Kavanaugh's roommate, he was never contacted by the FBI, and he gave a very wide-reaching interview last night on CNN.
Brett, having been interviewed by the FBI, backgrounds done on 5 or 6 occasions prior to this, and it struck me that I was his freshman year roommate, and if you wanted to know how somebody behaved in college, which is a time where, especially that transition from high school to college, where people are likely to have done something that expressed something that might have been a problem, that they would have contacted me, right? 5 or 6 FBI interviews. Now, I started talking to friends. I said, well, is this just sloppy work, or why would somebody not contact a freshman college roommate, his only freshman college roommate, to try and figure out what this guy was like? And this person was quick to say, listen, the FBI are good. They're good guys. They take it very seriously. They do the work that they're told to do. If they didn't contact you, it's because whoever was doing the background check wasn't interested in what was going on at that time.
Damn. So, Jamie Roach, who was one of the first people to say that he knew Debbie Ramirez in college, and he was Brett Kavanaugh's freshman year roommate. Freshman year was the year that Debbie Ramirez is, remember, Debbie Ramirez says that Brett Kavanaugh was wildly drunk at a party and that they were teasing her, they slipped her something. This is all about Quaaludes. I just hope you know that. And you want to know what's so offensive to me about this being about Quaaludes? Is if these guys weren't like sons of bitches, if they weren't, cowards, afraid of rejection, if they weren't, pasty white entitled pricks, they could have told a girl that they were going to give her a Quaalude and what it would do to her. And she might have said, okay, let me try it, and they would have gotten the same result. Because Quaaludes made you not care. You'd get in a pile. I used to say you'd screw a doorknob. It was like the most amazing thing in the history of the world. But to sandbag somebody with a Quaalude, which is what they're accused of doing, this whole crowd, of putting them in red Solo cups full of, punch with grain alcohol already in it, for God's sake, and then slipping a Quaalude into that and giving them the cup to drink and sandbagging them. Well, of course, all of a sudden they started feeling very disoriented and very woozy and like out of control. And oh my God, what is this? Because Quaaludes were so freaking powerful. But you see, if they weren't a bunch of cowards, they might have told a girl. They might have told her what it would do. And she might have said, all right, I'll try it. And they would have been able to, do whatever they wanted, because she would have then been in agreement. But oh no, they had to drug them and push them into bedrooms and tear off their clothes. So this particular time, Debbie Ramirez says, and she knows where and she knows when, it was a soccer party in Lawrence Hall. They drugged her and they started teasing her with a dildo. And then Brett Kavanaugh whips his out and tells her to kiss it. And there are 20 witnesses. 20. Now, Jamie Roach knew Deborah Ramirez, and he heard about this, and so did a whole host of others who today are speaking out. Oh, my God.
Clear for takeoff. Randi Rhodes Air Force. Air Force. RandiRhodes.com.
Is it October? It must be, because $5 off 14-ounce packs of beef jerky this month at Herky Jerky. Now, Herky Jerky does one thing, seriously delicious jerky. Venison, buffalo, elk, bacon, all natural turkey, and perfect bite meat sticks. But October is beef jerky month. Good old-fashioned beef jerky. Now, if you've tried herky jerky, beef jerky, you know two things. Number one, it's unbelievably delicious. The top round steak is fresh, it's tender, and it comes in 4 mouth-watering flavors: original, spicy, teriyaki, and barbecue. Each one has a unique taste with just the right amount of salt and spices. And best of all, no nitrites, no preservatives of any kind, so you feel confident that what you're eating is not only tasty, but healthy and natural. Number two, there's no skimping on these portions. Every single bag packed. 14 ounces of beef in every single. These are not the little frou-frou bags or the gas station bags that give you a couple of handfuls and then you just want more. No, no, no. And if you really love it, buy in bulk. These packs are perfect. Take them camping, biking, fishing. Take them to workouts. Keep them in the car just to munch. They're just delicious. And this month, $5 off all packs of beef jerky with no promo code needed. And if you buy 2 packs or more of anything at herkyjerky.com, your shipping is free. Take advantage of October. $5 off 14-ounce packs of beef jerky. Just visit herkyjerky.com now.
If you want to continue enjoying great shows like Randi Rhodes, Stephanie Miller, Tom Hartman, Leslie Marshall, and so many others on the free mobile Progressive Voices platform, please go to progressivevoices.com and press the donate button right now. Thank you.
Progressive Voices needs your help. Progressive Voices has grown in terms of audience, and that has also significantly increased their bandwidth costs, and they've tried to protect the limited commercial nature of their stream. And to keep up with costs, they need your help. You could say they're sort of victims of their own success. With nearly 1 million regular listeners now, the cost of operating the stream has grown beyond their wildest expectations. So if you want to continue enjoying The David Pakman Show on the free mobile Progressive Voices platform, please pitch in now. Go to progressivevoices.com and press the donate button.
You're listening to the Progressive Voices Network. And here's a clip from Tara Buster with Tara Devlin.
This is how much Republicans hate democracy. They saw what we saw. They saw a privileged little frat boy get up there and lie. Because when they're lying to the face of the Senate, they're lying to our faces. But they don't care. These are people that run pedophiles. They ran a man who was banned from the goddamn mall as a senator, and Trump, their standard bearer, their sexual predator-in-chief, said, "Get out and vote for Roy Moore." What is this monotone? I can't stand them. The performance that we saw this week is evidence that he shouldn't be on the D.C. circuit that he's on now, much less the Supreme Court, because he lied under oath, and then he lied about his yearbook entries. How stupid does he think we are? He had a lot of plans. He was going to concentrate wealth even further. He was going to entrench oligarchy and put bitches back.
Ooh, there's a fire in me. I light up everything. Watch your whole world burn to the ground. And oh, fury like a woman's gold.
Oh! All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
He says Devil Triangle was a drinking game. He says boofing was flatulence. That is what he testified to under oath to the U.S. Senate. You're saying he was lying.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely stunning. You know, the thing that bothered me about it, obviously it's not that he was drinking. It's not that he was talking impolitely about women. I think those things are rude, but I don't think they were uncommon, and I don't think they disqualify you. I think what was shocking to me was getting up under oath and with a straight face saying that these things were true when he knew, and when a lot of people knew that was not the case. And it was a suggestion that if I just say this, nobody will challenge me, that nobody will stand up and take the risk of saying what we all knew to be true. And I think what really got under my skin with this was that really we weren't talking about Brett's drinking, and we weren't talking about his saying bad things about women, we were talking about what I believe to be the credible claims of women who had gone through a lot of pain.
Yeah.
And by getting up there and saying these and other things, what he was saying is these women's pain doesn't matter. That either they're lying or they're crazy or they're just going after me. And I don't think that's okay.
Just square the circle, because we've heard people say, what devil's triangle? Who cares whether or not he's being straight about what that meant? Why does that matter to the central claim of sexual assault?
Because he wasn't being quizzed on drinking. You know, I don't know very many people who didn't drink in college, and I know a lot of people who drank in college to the point of blacking out or throwing up. You know, it's not a proud thing, but it's very common. It particularly was common then. That wasn't the problem. The problem is, does he tell the truth? And does he tell the truth when it matters? And does he tell the truth about little things? And does he lie easily? And does he lie for good reasons? Or does he lie just to protect embarrassment? And it's in the context of the claims of Debbie, who, I got to tell you, I knew Debbie at that time very, very well. I spent lots of time with her, and she was a notably honest person. And so we're being asked to believe the story of a person who I, not uniquely, but specifically knew to be very honest, versus a person who is standing up in front of us saying things that we all know not to be true.
And it isn't just sex that he lied about, and it isn't just drinking that he lied about, and it isn't just college terms in his yearbook that he lied about. He lied about knowing whether or not Judge Kozinski was a complete and utter perv and was sexually harassing his clerks. And we know that that's true, that he did do those things, Judge Kozinski did, because 15 women filed complaints against him, and they prevailed. And we know Kavanaugh was a clerk for Kozinski, and he testified during this hearing that he had no idea that Kozinski was doing any of those things. And every clerk that ever worked for Kozinski, male and female, both said, oh my God, how could he not know? Everybody knew. It was widely known. And his thing is, oh, I didn't know till I read it in the media. This is what he says about everything. This is what he said about stolen emails. He lied about that. He lied about, torture memos and Jay Bybee and John Yoo and how closely he worked on shepherding through, judicial nominations while he was in the Bush White House. We only got 4% of his documents from his time at the Bush White House. That's how this started. And no one was interested in what I was howling about because it was documents. Who can, what do we document? And now you see why all of this cover-up mattered from the get-go with his confirmation. You've got his friends, all of them. Pretty much all of them. Sean Hagan, he posted on Facebook after, and he went to Georgetown Prep with Kavanaugh. He said, I am so angry. I'm so disgusted, so sad. Integrity, character, honesty. You have Chad Luddington, who went to school with him, who also said, oh, my God, I just couldn't believe what I was hearing, what I was seeing. I mean, this man just sat there and he freaking lied.
Well, it all began, that evening began. In fact, I know the date now. I found it in the Hartford Courant program guide for September 1985. And Chris Dudley and Brett Kavanaugh and I went to a UB40 concert. They were a popular reggae band of the 1980s. In any event, at something called the Palace Theater, and it was a Wednesday night, so it was sort of an odd night to be going out.
Wednesday.
But, the concert was a good one. So after the concert, we went to a bar called Demery's, and we were drinking, and I assumed beer, at some point we looked over at this fellow who looked very similar to the lead singer of UB40, a guy named Ali Campbell.
I can't believe you know that.
We kind of give him the eye, looking at this guy, and we're kind of asking, is that really him? Could he be here? And if so, we'll go introduce ourselves and say great show, and maybe share a beer with him, whatever. And he saw us looking at him and didn't like the fact that we were looking at them. So he said something like, what the hell are you looking at? And I said, oh, we just thought you were the lead singer of UB40. and he said something fairly aggressive, frankly. I'm not, and screw off, or something to that degree. At that point, Brett took umbrage at this and threw his beer at the guy. I actually now found out from the report that it wasn't beer, that I had misremembered. It was ice cubes and whatever the drink was that he was drinking. I guess that is, we weren't drinking water, so it must have been some sort of mixed drink. Well, the fellow, Brett said, "Fuck you," or something to that effect, and threw the ice at the guy. The guy, understandably, even though he had been aggressive in his response, found that was a little one step too far. So he took a swing at Brett, and then they were kind of, two guys fighting. That was all very quick. And then at that point, Chris Dudley, who had his drink in his hand, proceeded to smash it up against the guy's head. The melee went on very briefly. I don't know what Brett was doing exactly, but I was pulling.
It's his phone.
I was pulling Chris back, and someone else was pulling the other guy back. And next thing you know, there's some shouting. And I don't know how many minutes it was. It wasn't very many at all, frankly. The police show up, and they look around and ask questions about, who did what. But clearly, the big mistake, obviously, had been the smashing of the glass against the guy's head. So.
No, that's friendly, isn't it? That's not belligerent. Smashing a glass against a guy's head. And that's Chris Dudley who did that after Brett Kavanaugh threw his drink in the face and hit him with the ice cubes. And Fox News goes, he threw ice cubes. He threw ice cubes. Listen, it's not that he threw ice cubes. It's not that he was in a bar. It's not that he got drunk after a concert or during a concert and continued drinking after the concert, which is more likely with a band whose theme song is Red, Red Wine, and the only white reggae band in the history of reggae. It's not just that. It's that he lied about it. He lied about that, too. It was a Wednesday night. He said he never drank during the weekend, only once in a while on the week. None of this is true. Then you've got his other friend, Lynn Brooks. Lynn Brooks is a Republican woman. She is a registered Republican. She told Chris Cuomo the other night that there were a lot of texts flying around that night about how he's lying to the Senate Judiciary Committee. He's a bad drunk, to lie under oath, to blur to the difference between truth and lies. She said that's just terrible. Liz Swisher, she said it's not about women versus men. It's not about Democrats versus Republicans. It's about the integrity of the Supreme Court. He lied about just about everything he was asked. This is what he said about, who he was at that age. He said, I went to an all-boys Catholic high school, a Jesuit high school, where I was focused on academics and athletics, going to church every Sunday at Little Flower, working on my service projects and friendship. Friendship with my fellow classmates, friendship with girls from the local all-girls Catholic school. He also lied about where he grew up. I don't even know why he told this lie, but he said when they were asking him, Dianne Feinstein asked him about his dissenting opinion on the 2011 court ruling where D.C. banned assault weapons, okay? And he doesn't think that assault weapons should be banned. He equates guns with free speech. It's very sick, okay? But he had this dissenting opinion. The majority of the court found that D.C. was within its rights to have an assault weapons ban, okay? When she asked him about his dissent, he first started, disseminating, assault weapons is equivalent to a ban on speech. Okay, so that right there was freaky. But then, which is pure bullcrap, just like corporations are not people. Corporations don't get raped. Corporations don't get gynecological exams. They don't have colonoscopies. They don't get prostate cancer. They don't get colon cancer, okay? None of the things that are happening to most of the people in this audience will ever happen to a corporation, okay? Their kids don't come home disappointed, whatever. None of this will happen to a corporation. And money is not speech, and we know that because you could sit there and talk to your $10 bill, and it's never going to answer you. But he said that the reason why he had a very good idea about, violence and assault weapons and all this was because this was his testimony. He said he was the only child of a judge and a lawyer, and he grew up in a city plagued. This is his quote. I grew up in a city plagued by gun violence and gang violence and drug violence. Now, I know exactly where he grew up because, I lived in D.C. He grew up in Bethesda. The average income, and this is just, the average income in Bethesda is $146,664. Okay, just so you know, the average income in the United States is $51,000. So it's like 3 times wealthier than most of America, in places where most of America lives, okay? The homicide rate in Bethesda is 2 deaths per 100,000, okay? This is pure bullshit. He did not grow up in a gang violence, drug violence, plagued by gun violence place. I mean, why did he tell these stupid lies? He told so many lies. Another guy who is now a doctor named Richard O., okay? He said about the Ramirez story, he said remember Brett Kavanaugh testified, if I had done stuff like that, it would have been the talk of campus. Dr. O., who was also a classmate of Kavanaugh's and also James Roach, said it was the talk at the time. He remembers hearing about Ramirez at the time. He remembers hearing about it. And James Roach just told you, based on my time with Debbie, I believe her to be unusually honest and straightforward, and I can't imagine her making this up. Based on my time with Brett, I believe him and his social circle were capable of the actions Debbie described. Then you had that whole thing with Renate, okay, or Renata, but they called her Renate. They did, because apparently there was a little rhyme that they used, that Brett Kavanaugh used to go down the hall singing. Oh, it's something about, it's late, you can't get a date, you can still get laid, just call Renee. And people remember him doing that. And this other guy, Sean Hagan, that I told you posted on his Facebook, he said, he told the New York Times, I can't express how disgusted I am with them then and now. And how badly they treated this girl, how they treated her with such disrespect. And I don't know, I guess she wants her privacy and she doesn't want everybody to know that she was a booty call for 11 guys who appeared in that yearbook picture that said that they were Renate alumnius, meaning they all claimed to have had sex with her. So she said, I can't begin to comprehend what goes through the minds of 17-year-old boys who write such things, but the insinuation is horrible, hurtful, and simply untrue. I pray their daughters are never treated this way. She followed up after the hearing. And she said, this is just, she took her name off the endorsement of Kavanaugh, blah, blah, blah. Then, the whole thing with boofing. Oh, it was flatulence, Jamie Roach and others who all were part of that, that the 1980s at Yale, at Georgetown Prep. They all said, everybody knows what boofing, apparently it means anal sex or using drugs like suppositories, okay? And that Devil's Triangle was not a drinking game. It had to do with 2 guys and a girl. And this idea that he vomited a lot because he can't eat spicy foods. I mean, really, who is that? And the Beach Week Ralph Club, that he vomited because he had spicy foods. Then he testified that Dr. Ford's allegation is not merely uncorroborated, it's refuted by the very people she says were there, including a longtime friend of hers. No, they all said they don't even remember the party because nothing happened to them. But her friend Leland Kaiser said she believes her. And then, of course, he lied about 4,670 emails stolen from the Senate Judiciary Committee in 2002 and 3 over a period of 18 months called Memo Gate, where Manny Miranda, Orrin Hatch, this is the dirtiest senator. You know, thank God he's leaving. Thank God. But what he leaves in his wake, this man is filthy. Filthy. But Manny Miranda was a staffer. He was a legal staffer at Orrin Hatch's office, and they stole, it was a digital Watergate. They stole 4,670 confidential memos on judicial strategy from the Democrats on the Judiciary Committee for a period of 18 months. It was investigated. The Sergeant at Arms of the Senate investigated, and Miranda was forced to resign. They didn't charge him with the crime. You see, this is what happens to pasty white boys who steal.
Without obviously having a Democratic Congress and a Democratic president. But thanks for your call, Reggie. I appreciate it. Let's take a quick break. I got a couple more callers on the line. 888-488-MARK, 888-488-6275. Back after this.
He's a Fulbright scholar and he speaks French, but he couldn't tell you who won the Super Bowl. It's Mark Levine. Give him a call now at 888-488-MARK. That's 888-488-6275.
Hi, this is John Ondrasik of Fight for Fighting, here for RAD, the entertainment industry's voice for road safety. You know, style is a personal thing, and your lifestyle is your business. But if you take it on the road, it becomes everybody's business. So please, plan ahead, designate before you celebrate. Friends, don't let friends drive drunk.
A public service announcement brought to you by RAD, the National Association of Broadcasters, and the Ad Council.
Steven.
Who said that?
Me, down here.
Ugh, what are you, a yellow booger?
I'm a banana slug, Steven.
What are you doing in my room?
I'm your sense of adventure. It's been a long time since we've had an adventure in the forest.
Mom took me to the forest last year.
I'm a slug, Steven. It took me a long time to get here.
You're right. I should get out.
Yeah, the forest is not that far away.
Hey, Mom!
Come to the forest where the more adventurous you lives. Check out discovertheforest.org for cool places nearby. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Woo! Let's get crazy!
In movies, when someone at a party jumps into a pool fully dressed, everyone cheers them on and jumps in too. Just so you know, in real life parties, nobody jumps in after you. You just look stupid.
Come on, jump in! Come on!
Most party fouls are pretty dumb, but if you decide to drink and drive underage, you could lose your license and your freedom. Learn more at ultimatepartyfoul.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Hey, Russell Wilson here, and I know how important exercise is.
It's essential. It's essential.
With Play 60, United Way and the NFL are helping kids stay active and play at least 60 minutes a day.
Healthy kids. Healthy kids.
But what this place needs is you. To donate or volunteer, go to unitedway.org/play60 because great things happen when we live united.
Donate, donate.
Are you guys going to do that every time?
Yes, of course. Yes, of course.
Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
Someone needs to buy a Grassroots USA tour package for the members of Donald Trump's Council of Economic Advisors, so they can at least visit the real world one time in their lives. The three advisors are ivory tower ideologues whose sole professional expertise seems to be twisting reality to fit their boss's right-wing fantasia. In July, for example, the trio issued a fairy tale disguised as an official government report on poverty, essentially asserting that our U.S. of A. no longer has a poverty problem. Poof, declared these learned ones from on high. The need for food stamps, Medicaid, public housing, and other assistance has virtually disappeared in our land. Jobs abound, they lectured. The economy is pumping out great gobs of new wealth, and bluebirds of happiness are spreading joy everywhere. You can imagine the comfort that this report has brought to the 45 million Americans now living below the poverty line. That line means they're trying to make ends meet on only $25,000 a year. Not per person, but for a family of 4. Let's see any of Trump's advisors try to live on that before smugly claiming that poverty is largely over. What's at work here is the political manipulation of statistics to support Trump's ideological delusion that poor people are losers who are addicted to safety net programs. As a narcissistic son of privilege, he is out to cut those programs and to impose strict work requirements on families seeking public assistance. Never mind that most recipients of aid already work, subjected to the hardships of poverty by the low wages of their jobs. This is Jim Hightower saying, but that's the real world. And it doesn't mesh with Trump and company's cruel self-deception that basic humane benefits make poverty too pleasant. They're imposing a Dickensian governing ethic that is fundamentally obscene. And even more obscene, it's un-American.
Rumor has it he quotes the Constitution in his sleep. Is it super nerd? No, it's Mark Levine. Give him a call now at 888-488-MARK. That's 888-488-6275.
Welcome back to the Inside Scoop. Reggie from Georgia, please call back the show. My producer, Mark Romardi, will give you the phone number of someone who will absolutely make sure that you get registered to vote. It's the Stacey Abrams campaign. Please call back and get that phone number. I'm depending on you, Reggie. Number two, I posted in Facebook a link to Heidi Heitkamp, who made a very brave decision. Senator Heidi Heitkamp of North Dakota, probably the single most vulnerable Democrat running for re-election in a month. And she voted no on Kavanaugh. Very, very risky move in North Dakota. I have a link where she is asking for funds to support her. Please do that. All right, let's go. A couple callers real quick. We've got Mark in San Francisco on line 3. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, Mark, I'm really upset about this tax cut and all the trillions of dollars that we're in debt for by this Republican Party that said that, they're screaming about the debt over and over again, and now we go into debt to give millionaires and billionaires and corporations tax cuts, and we've got trillions of dollars of debt. This is an outrage, absolute outrage.
It is an outrage, and it's one that's frankly getting, like most things in the Trump era, getting buried under a number of outrages. But that is the essence of what the Republican Party is about. It's about fleecing you and me and middle-class people and ordinary people and giving all the money mostly to multinational corporations, of which one-third of which aren't even owned by American citizens. So now we are going to have the largest debt since World War II. And that the same party that used to argue, the Tea Party used to say they cared about the debt, well, this just proves that they don't. But thanks for...
You said that he most likely committed perjury. Kavanaugh did commit perjury, and that was in the drinking issue. The initial testimony he gave, he denied any sexcapades. He denied ever engaging drinking in high school or in college.
So let me end on this, Michael, because we're running out of time. The investigations will continue. If the Democrats take the House, and it's an if, it's not a certainty unless all of you make it happen, they will no doubt investigate Kavanaugh. And if they prove perjury, they should impeach him and at least try to remove him from office. This is Mark Levine signing off.
You're listening to the Progressive Voices Network. And here's a clip from Tara Buster with Tara Devlin.
These Republicans it's the same cast of characters. Orrin Hatch, what's his face? Chuck Grassley. They asked him, why aren't there any women on the Judiciary Committee? Well, and his answer was, it's hard work on that committee. Meaning, what does that mean? Women aren't capable of working hard? They don't want to work hard? Yeah, because we just want to sit around and, have abortions and stuff. And we need daddy to make our decisions. Daddy like Chuck Grassley? Why doesn't he retire already? Get out. The world is evolving. The young people are coming up. He's well past his sell-by date. He looks like the 1840s to me. And I don't want to hear it. And then there's the other one I kept seeing on MSNBC when I watched Morning Joe. I want to vomit. John Kennedy. This is no country for creepy old men. Bullshit. I mean, that may sound funny and folksy and homey, but it's utter bullshit. Because the Republican Party is irredeemable now. They are beyond hope. beyond repair. This is Tara Devlin from RDTDaily.com, and that was a clip from Tara Buster.
Tara Buster is recorded live every Saturday evening from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern at the RDT Daily Facebook and YouTube channels, and rebroadcast on Sunday from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on Progressive Voices, or anytime on demand on the Progressive Voices app.
Support RDT Daily and the...
I read the news today, oh boy.
It's time for Nicole Sandler's What's News from NicoleSandler.com and the Progressive Voices Network.
Although Brett Kavanaugh was sworn in as the nation's 114th Supreme Court Justice in a private ceremony at the court on Saturday night, Trump held a ceremonial swearing-in Monday at the White House. The president actually began his statement with an apology to Kavanaugh and his family.
On behalf of our nation, I want to apologize to Brett and the entire Kavanaugh family for the terrible pain and suffering you have been forced to endure. Those who step forward to serve our country deserve a fair and dignified evaluation, not a campaign of political and personal destruction based on lies and deception. What happened to the Kavanaugh family violates every notion of fairness, decency, and due process. Our country, a man or a woman, must always be presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty. And with that, I must state that you, sir, under historic scrutiny, were proven innocent. Thank you.
No, Kavanaugh was not proven innocent. Kavanaugh, the man who said, quote, "What goes around comes around," as part of a sneering counterattack aimed at Democratic members of the Senate Judiciary Committee during his hearing, tried to sing a different tune Monday night.
The Supreme Court is an institution of law. It is not a partisan or political institution. The justices do not sit on opposite sides of an aisle. We do not caucus in separate rooms. The Supreme Court is a team of 9. And I will always be a team player on the team of 9.
He then went on to thank all the Republicans who helped him get there. At a campaign rally in Orlando Monday evening, Donald Trump defended Kavanaugh and called his accusers evil.
He's a great person, and it was very, very unfair what happened to him. False charges, false accusations, horrible statements that were totally untrue, that he knew nothing about. Frankly, terms that he probably never heard in his life. He was this, he was that. He never even heard of these terms. It was a disgraceful situation brought about by people that are evil. And he toughed it out. We all toughed it out together. And I have to thank the Republican senators that fought so hard for this, because it wasn't easy. And it was a great honor to be involved in this situation. A lot of people would have said, oh, let's give it up, let's go a different direction. We don't give up. You don't give up. We don't give up. Just don't do it. It's going to be a great Supreme Court justice. Watch. A great one.
I don't usually report on things pop stars say in this report, but today we'll make an exception. Taylor Swift jumped into the political fray on Instagram over the weekend. She said that she's been reluctant to publicly voice her political opinions, but the last 2 years have changed that. Her statement read in part, quote, "I believe in the fight for LGBTQ rights and that any form of discrimination based on sexual orientation or gender is wrong. I believe that the systemic racism we still see in this country towards people of color is terrifying, sickening, and prevalent. I cannot vote for someone who will not be willing to fight for dignity for all Americans, no matter their skin color, gender, or who they love." Running for Senate in the state of Tennessee is a woman named Marsha Blackburn. As much as I have in the past and would like to continue voting for women in office, I cannot support Marsha Blackburn. Her voting record in Congress appalls and terrifies me. She voted against equal pay for women. She voted against the reauthorization of the Violence Against Women Act, which attempts to protect women from domestic violence, stalking, and date rape. She believes businesses have a right to refuse service to gay couples. She also believes they should not have the right to marry. These are not my Tennessee values. I will be voting for Phil Bredesen for Senate and Jim Cooper for House of Representatives. Please, please educate yourself on the candidates running in your state and vote based on who most closely represents your values. Swift ended that lengthy post by reminding her fans that Tuesday, October 9th is the last day to register to vote in Tennessee and urged them to go to vote.org to find all the info. Of course, Trump has an opinion.
Taylor Swift jumping into politics. What do you have to say to her? And what did she say? She said she wants people to vote for Democrats. And not Marsha Blackburn, especially. You know, well, Marsha Blackburn is doing a very good job in Tennessee. She's leading now substantially, which she should. She's a tremendous woman. I'm sure Taylor Swift has nothing or doesn't know anything about her. And let's say that I like Taylor's music about 25% less now, okay? Thank you.
Hurricane Michael strengthened Tuesday morning to a Category 2 and will continue to strengthen significantly to become a dangerous Category 3 storm by the time it's expected to hit the Gulf Coast on Wednesday morning. More than 100 counties from Mobile, Alabama, through the Florida Panhandle are under a state of emergency, and 1,250 National Guardsmen have been activated for duty. After slamming the Gulf Coast, Michael is expected to slog through Georgia and into the Carolinas, parts of which are still reeling from Hurricane Florence. And that's a bit of what's news for now. I'm Nicole Sandler. If you appreciate these reports and the Nicole Sandler Show, I hope you'll consider making a contribution. My work is 100% listener supported, and I can't do it without your help. Find out more at NicoleSandler.com/donate.
Mary had a little man. The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon.
I have a dream today.
Change has come to America.
Believe me. Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
I want to talk about Brett Kavanaugh's love/love relationship with alcohol. He loves it. He loves it. Now, the FBI, as you know, was forbidden from investigating Brett Kavanaugh's past drinking. Now, fair enough. I would like to investigate his present drinking. I think it's fair. Because you know what? You would do that if he was applying for a job at Staples, for example. You would. Now, Brett Kavanaugh said that the way he can tell he's had too much to drink is he checks the blood alcohol chart. You know that chart that we're always checking as non-alcoholics. But he checks that chart. I think he carries it around with his pocket constitution. Uh-oh. You know, I have a slightly different method for determining if someone has had too much to drink. I check to see if they yell at the top of their lungs. And then if they suddenly start sobbing uncontrollably. I gotta tell you, that would not go over well at Staples. They'd be like, Brett, why are you crying in the calendar aisle?
Andy Borowitz, everybody, Andy Borowitz. I hope everybody gets the Borowitz report. It's hysterical. Every day he writes, crap. Every day he makes crap up and he writes it. It's the best. Satire is what it is, and it's just unbelievable. And last night, I don't know, did you see? We had a public relations swearing-in ceremony for Brett at the White House. That included a band and a cocktail reception. I mean, if you're being, looked at as being probably an alcoholic, I would think that, Trump especially would skip the cocktail reception. I just, did he have beer? I don't know. I hope they kept any upstairs bedrooms, off limits in case Brett had one too many. I don't know. It was weird. It was very weird. Here you have the president of the United States. The nomination fight is over. And, you would think it would be time for the president of the United States, to, I don't know, take up the issue of the nation's wounds and not rub salt into them, which is what he did last night. I mean, I don't even understand. And, here's the thing, the news today, Nikki Haley, anybody? Nikki Haley? I just don't think anybody gives a rat's ass about this, but I'll just say it because it's news and everybody's like, breathlessly covering it. She was our UN ambassador. She will continue to be our UN ambassador till the end of the year. And apparently she has tendered her resignation. So, I mean, everybody's like trying to figure out why did she leave and what is going on. And she's the adult in the room and how sad this is. And, oh, my God, maybe she's running in 2020. Well, this morning she said she's not running. She's ruling out the 2020. So she said she'll campaign for Trump. And they had this joint little meeting today at the White House where she decided to use her time to talk about Javanka.
I want to thank the family in general. The First Lady has been nothing but very, very kind to me. I can't say enough good things about Jared and Ivanka. Jared is such a hidden genius that no one understands. I mean, to redo the NAFTA deal the way he did. What I've done working with him on the Middle East peace plan, it is so unbelievably well done. And Ivanka's been just a great friend, and they do a lot of things behind the scenes that I wish more people knew about, because we're a better country because they're in this administration.
We're a better country. I thought Jared was trying to get millions of dollars from some bank to bail him out because he's got a big debt, coming up. And that Ivanka was somewhere selling, block-heeled shoes. I didn't know that they were genius. But that's what she said. She's here it is. Nikki Haley, probably, the most credible female candidate for the GOP. And then she says this. So that's over. So much for that, because that'll be played on an endless loop. I mean, female candidates in the GOP, they're almost as rare as, female voters in the GOP these days because they nominated a rapist. But this is the news. This is what's taking up our time today. That and the fact that the president went out of his way last night to be ultra cruel to women. This is who he's attacking now. He's attacking women. I don't know why we're 50% of the population. Why would he want to do this? But he is doing it, and it's kind of strange. It's kind of weird. He's calling women, the people who protested the most about the Brett were suburban women. They were women who either were victims of sexual assault, sexual harassment, or women who knew somebody who was a victim of sexual assault or sexual harassment. They typically lived in suburbia. A lot of them were working women. A lot of them were housewives. A lot of them were, it's just that it was just like women. Why would he? And now they've taken, because they're the paranoid party, they've taken to calling women an angry mob. This is like the new thing, right? They're all victims. Mitch McConnell is a victim. Chuck Grassley is a victim. Everyone in the GOP is being victimized by women.
The radical Democrats have turned into an angry mob.
We refuse to be intimidated by the mob of people.
No to mob rule. It's unthinkable.
Women.
I don't have the courage. You don't hand matches to an arsonist, and you don't give power to an angry left-wing mob, and that's what they've become.
But this is the first confirmation hearing for a Supreme Court justice I've seen, basically, according to mob rule.
What we have learned is the resistance that has existed since the day after the November 2016 election is centered right here on Capitol Hill.
They have encouraged mob rule.
The tactics that have been employed both by Judiciary Committee Democratic senators and by the virtual mob that's assaulted all of us in the course of this process.
Oh, you were assaulted.
Has turned our base on fire. My members dealing with, we've been under assault, Laura.
Assault.
Our homes have been, they've come to our homes.
Yours was today, this morning.
Yeah, but not just me, everybody. I mean, they've been after all of us. We've sort of been under assault, and everybody decided to stand up to the mob. We were literally under assault.
Assault.
These demonstrators, I'm sure some of them were well-meaning citizens, but many of them were obviously trained to get in our faces, to go to our homes up there, to basically almost attack us in the halls of the Capitol. So there was a full-scale effort to intimidate as well. What I think this has done for us is provide the kind of adrenaline shot that we had not been able to figure out how to achieve in any other ways. We think there's some evidence, Lawrence, that this is going to be very helpful to us next month.
Mitch McConnell was assaulted. You see, it's that Mitch McConnell was the victim of the assault, not the women who were assaulted. No, it was Mitch McConnell. He's been assaulted. Our homes have been visited. What? Christine Blasey Ford cannot go home. She can't go home. She is facing endless death threats. Endless.
I will say this has been terrifying. Her family has been through a lot. They are not living at home. It's going to be quite some time before they're able to live at home. The threats have been unending.
Oh my God.
It's deplorable. It's been very frightening. And she's also received extraordinary letters of support and encouragement. But these threats are extremely distressing.
So Mitch McConnell and Chuck Grassley, they've been assaulted. They've been attacked. But Christine Blasey Ford, they agree, she was attacked. But she's wrong about who attacked her, right? So, I mean, I don't even understand that. Why are they attacking suburban women? Why are they going after young American girls who are focused on issues that are important to them? Why? I mean, the young voters are very interested in things like science and gun safety, and women are very interested in protecting younger women from having to go through what we had to go through as older women. I mean, is there some benefit to telling some little old lady in Des Moines that, some angry mob is going to come with torches, tiki torches? Because if she's worried about that, look no further than Trump supporters. I mean, these are some of the angriest, nastiest, most vicious people. I mean, they get in your face on the street.
You're looking at fucking me. Are you threatening me? Came over here and fucking threatened women. Get the fuck out of here. Hey, you're the only bitch that came up and started talking shit, dude. We didn't come up to you, did we? We didn't come up to you.
You did. And I know you ain't gonna back your shit up, so don't get one of your boys fucked up because you started shit. If you're not gonna fight, if you want gender equality, everybody can have gender equality.
Get the fuck on.
Please give me a fucking break. You're a fucking chick, dude. You're gonna have one of your boys fucking protect you. So if you fucking threaten me, I'm gonna take on one of these guys. You understand? So don't get your boys fucked up.
Dude, nobody threatened you. Nobody fucking threatened you. You come over here fucking talking fucking shit. Back the
That's
fuck
right, I'm a
up.
fucking asshole, and I'll be a fucking asshole to anybody that's talking shit.
Nobody
Have a good fucking day. Have a good day, asshole.
Bye.
I am an asshole.
Dude,
not bullying your buddies, sir, but you really shouldn't.
Don't fucking. Yeah, they're nice people. They just sucker punch anybody that they feel like it with their fashy hairdoosies, and they get in people's faces. The little ponytail men with the leather jackets, they go after the women. And he actually said to her, "You're an effing chick, dude." Why, the wisdom that comes out of the Trump supporters. I mean, I don't know why they're doing this, but, you know, we all remember the Tea Party Express. We all remember the Tea Party Patriots. We all remember Charlottesville. We all remember the dissension. You know, everybody ran to the town halls. They attacked Democrats over Obamacare and the witch doctor and it's, you know, communism and are you a freaking commie and all this. And now, all of a sudden, you got the Trump. Don't they ever get tired of accusing us for doing the crap that they do? I mean, doesn't it? Are they immune to irony? Are they immune to satire? I mean, you don't give an arsonist a match, and you don't give an angry mob the vote, and you don't tug on Superman's cape, and you don't spit into the wind.
Clear for takeoff. Randi Rhodes Air Force. Air Force. RandiRhodes.com.
Is it October? It must be, because $5 off 14-ounce packs of beef jerky this month at Herky Jerky. Now, you know, Herky Jerky does one thing: seriously delicious jerky. Venison, buffalo, elk, bacon, all-natural turkey, and perfect bite meat sticks. But October is beef jerky month. Good old-fashioned beef jerky. Now, if you've tried Herky Jerky beef jerky, you know two things. Number one, it's unbelievably delicious. The top round steak is fresh, it's tender, and it comes in 4 mouth-watering flavors: original, spicy, teriyaki, and barbecue. Each one has a unique taste with just the right amount of salt and spices. And best of all, no nitrites, no preservatives of any kind, so you feel confident that what you're eating is not only tasty, but healthy and natural. Number two, there's no skimping on these portions. Every single bag packed. 14 ounces of beef in every single. These are not the little frou-frou bags or the gas station bags that give you a couple of handfuls and then you just want more. No. And if you really love it, buy in bulk. These packs are perfect. Take them camping, biking, fishing. Take them to workouts. Keep them in the car just to munch. They're just delicious. And this month, $5 off all packs of beef jerky with no promo code needed. And if you buy 2 packs or more of anything at herkyjerky.com, your shipping is free. Take advantage of October. $5 off 14-ounce packs of beef jerky. Just visit herkyjerky.com now.
If you want to continue enjoying great shows like Randi Rhodes, Stephanie Miller, Tom Hartman, Leslie Marshall, and so many others on the free mobile Progressive Voices platform, please go to progressivevoices.com and press the donate button right now. Thank you.
Progressive Voices needs your help. Progressive Voices has grown in terms of audience, and that has also significantly increased their bandwidth costs, and they've tried to protect the limited commercial nature of their stream. And to keep up with costs, they need your help. You could say they're sort of victims of their own success. With nearly 1 million regular listeners now, the cost of operating the stream has grown beyond their wildest expectations. So if you want to continue enjoying The David Pakman Show on the free mobile Progressive Voices platform, please pitch in now. Go to progressivevoices.com and press the donate button.
There's a fire in me. I light up everything. Watch your whole world burn to the ground. Fury like a woman's gold.
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, The Randi Rhodes Show.
On behalf of our nation, I want to apologize
Oh, my God.
to Brett and the entire Kavanaugh family for the terrible pain and suffering you have been forced to endure. Those who step forward to serve our country deserve a fair and dignified evaluation, not a campaign of political and personal destruction based on lies and deception. What happened to the Kavanaugh family violates every notion of fairness, decency, and due process. Our country, a man or a woman, must always be presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty.
This was not a trial.
And with that, I must state that you, sir, under historic scrutiny, were proven innocent. Thank you.
Well, innocent enough for Susan Collins, you know. As we've learned, that's not a high bar. He was not proven innocent. He was not proven guilty. He was not proven innocent. This was not a trial. This was a confirmation hearing to ascend to a higher court from the court he's already sitting on. And by the way, the court he's already sitting on has referred a dozen complaints to the Chief Justice of the U.S. Supreme Court about him. I don't think they'll ever see the light of day. Judge Roberts will sit upon them and he will squirrel them away and, whatever dank dark hole he has underneath that robe is. But that has happened. The D.C. Circuit Court has sent over. Now, Merrick Garland, who's the Chief Justice of that court, actually recused himself from listening to the complaints about Brett Kavanaugh. And so an associate justice, a woman, had to send it to the U.S. Supreme Court, dozens and dozens of complaints, and they had nothing to do with Christine Blasey Ford or with Deborah Ramirez or with Julie Swetnick. Oh, no. It had to do with his lying under oath. This man lied about everything. It had to do with him, squirreling away his documents from the Bush administration. It had to do with him lying about the torture program that he was involved in and saying he wasn't. It had to do with the stolen emails that he said he didn't receive, which we now have evidence that he did. It had to do with the fact that he was part of the warrantless wiretapping. He said he didn't do anything significant on the nomination and confirmation of Justice Pryor. He was the head of the working group. I mean, he lied. He lied and lied and lied. And the president, this numbnuts president that we have, who never apologizes for anything, apologizes to a guy who lied under oath repeatedly and a sexual abuser in the name of the rest of us, and then called the women an angry mob. Really? This is hysterical. I mean, the one time in his life that Donald Trump actually apologizes, and he apologizes for other people, and he apologizes to the last person on earth who should be apologized to. The man freaking lied over and over and over again. I mean, it's just Gerald Nadler, who, by the way, when we take back the House, which we will, by the way, today is the last day to register to vote in many, many states. Go check my Twitter feed at Randi Rhodes, and you will see a whole list of states where today is the last day. In fact, Tennessee today is the last day. Florida today is the last day. Taylor Swift is trying to remind her, fellow, Tennesseans that they really do need to get out to vote. And then all of a sudden she got into the fray there. And they saw a very, very large uptick in people registering to vote there in Tennessee. So that's kind of fascinating. But this is just so sick. I mean, you have so many people coming forward to show you how often and how regularly this man lied under oath. So, I don't know why he apologized in my name. Please, take my name out. Take my name out and take our Brett out, because our Brett did not want to apologize to your Brett. And our Scotty didn't want to. And, my whole audience there, we don't want to apologize. I mean, it's just, and this, you, sir, under historic scrutiny, were proven innocent. I mean, is he being as cruel as possible because he works very hard at it? Or is it just that he always manages to stumble into the absolute wrong words? I don't know. I don't know what the deal is. But the problem with our mob is that we're not storming the castle. We're not storming, the White House. We will be descending on voting booths. And instead of pitchforks, we will be carrying ballots. See? And that is their problem. And he knows it. And he knows it. The House is going down. The Senate, all we need is 2. That's all we need is 2. But we're defending a lot. That's the thing. And, for all the stuff that Mitch McConnell, said about, and Kavanaugh thanked Joe Manchin and all the Republicans last night, Mitch McConnell still says Manchin's going down. So I just want to know what loyalty to that party as a Democrat got you, Joe Manchin. I just want to know. What did you get? I'm not sure what you got, but whatever you got, I hope it was good. I hope it was really good. But But this is just crazy. And then last night, Kavanaugh tried to, cast himself as some kind of serious jurist, But that is completely denigrated by the fact that he was introduced by President Troll Clown, by Twitler. Twitler introduced him. I mean, how could you even accept anything from this guy? It's just so sad and sick. Here's Gerald Nadler trying to telegraph to us what he will do when he becomes chairman of the Judiciary Committee. This is going to be great. You remember Adam Schiff will become the chairman of the Intelligence Committee. Oh my God. Because I don't know if you, during the Kavanaugh hearing, one of the greatest things ever released were the transcripts of the Senate staff vetting, and we put that in quotes, extreme vetting. You know what their version of extreme vetting sounded like? Mr. Kavanaugh, we have a complaint, against you from a woman who says that, when you were at Yale, you were stumbling drunk and you probably don't remember. And he goes, that's just a joke. All right, thank you. And we also have a complaint from a woman who said that you exposed your penis to her at a party and there are witnesses. Well, that's just ridiculous. All right, that's good. And we also have that's the vetting. They asked him a question. He'd say it was a joke. He'd put them on hold. I mean, to read these transcripts is it's a scream. It's hysterical. They would ask him all these questions but there are 10 witnesses, sir. Well, I deny. All right, good. You've been vetted. Thank you for your time today. And this is what they did with Roger Stone. And Roger Stone, did you communicate with WikiLeaks? He said no. They go, okay, thank you. You can go. Now, can you imagine Adam Schiff with subpoena power? Oh, my God. Can you imagine Gerald Nadler as the House Judiciary Committee chair? I want you to imagine.
Congressman, I want to pick up on what Congresswoman Pelosi was saying right there. A lot of Democrats have said that they don't believe that Brett Kavanaugh told the truth when he went before the Judiciary Committee. Mm-hmm. If it turns out that he does become Justice Kavanaugh and you're chairman of the House Judiciary Committee, would you investigate him for possible impeachment?
Well, I would hope the Senate would have done its job first. I would hope the Senate I hope the FBI has a free hand over the next week to investigate, and that certainly means to call in all the relevant witnesses. It certainly means.
Doesn't sound like they do.
Well, if they don't, that's a real problem. It would call into validity the entire Senate process. I would hope that Senator Flake and others would not vote, would make clear that their votes will not be for the nominee unless there is a free hand for proper investigation of these very serious allegations of sexual assaults. We cannot have a justice on the Supreme Court for the next several decades who will be deciding questions of liberty and life and death and all kinds of things for the entire American people, who has been credibly accused of sexual assaults, who has been credibly accused of various other wrong things, including perjury. This has got to be thoroughly investigated. I hope the Senate will do so. If he is on the Supreme Court and the Senate hasn't investigated, then the House will have to.
You'll investigate.
We would have to investigate any credible allegations, certainly of perjury and other things that haven't been properly looked into before.
Can't wait. I can't wait. I would love to talk to, they never interviewed Brett Kavanaugh, the FBI. They never interviewed Christine Blasey Ford, the FBI. They didn't. And Deborah Ramirez gave them a list of 10 witnesses. They didn't talk to any of them. Christine Blasey Ford gave them 8. They didn't talk. They talked to 3. And Brett Kavanaugh thanked them last night. I don't know if you caught this. This was really, really, really twisted. This man is so bizarre. I really don't get.
Tonight, I thank all my friends. So many amazing and fearless friends. From my high school days, college, law school,
oh my God,
clerking, the Bush White House, including President George W. Bush.
He sat on the documents.
From the judiciary, teaching, coaching, playing sports, the vibrant, loyal, and tight-knit Catholic community here in the D.C. area.
Oh, I told you.
And so many others. Ashley and I are grateful for their prayers and for the prayers from the thousands and thousands of people we have heard from throughout America. When I give advice to young people or speak to students, I tell them, cherish your friends, look out for your friends, lift up your friends, love your friends. I love all my friends.
So no one told me life was going to be this way. Your job's a joke. You're broke. Your love life's DOA. It's like you're always stuck in second gear. It hasn't been your day, your month, or even your year. But I'll be there for you, Mark Judge. I'll be there for you, Squee. Because you were there for me, too. I mean, he brings up his friends from high school. I mean, it's like they were rubbing salt in the wound. It was so bizarre, this thing last night. It was so strange. You know, he talked about clerking and, you know, Kozinski, who had to step down from the bench for sexual harassment. And his guy. I mean, it's so, what a strange man. He is really, really strange. The tight-knit Catholic community. I'm telling you, that's what this is. JT in Atlanta.
Hey, Randy.
Hey.
Hey, let me say this, man. It's so funny when I hear people say, you just said how the Trump supporters are vicious and they're mean, and yeah, that may be true, but they're cowards, man. They're just like their hero. They are all friggin' cowards because they don't take none of that fight to anybody that can stand up to them.
That's
they
exactly
go after
right.
old white women. They go after young women.
Yeah.
They go after old guys. They don't bring that shit to the hood. I'm in zone 6 ATL, baby. 6'2", 230 pounds. I can hit 25 reps of 225 when I wake up in the morning.
No way.
I ain't never had a Trump supporter say no out-of-the-way shit to me. Ever. And I begged for it. Please, bring it.
Wow.
How come Trump never goes to Avenatti?
No, it is interesting. I mean, here's this big-ass biker ponytail dude talking to this girl, and he says, you're a chick, dude. You're an effing chick, dude. So what I'll do is I'll beat up your friends. I couldn't even believe that. But this is who they are. They're just bullies, and bullies are cowards. You know that. Bullies make empty
they're
threats.
all a bunch of cowards.
They're all a bunch of cowards. They're terrified. That's why this.
I guarantee you,
but that's
Trump
why
has never been in a fight a day in his life.
No, you're right, and that's why they're calling women the angry mob. That's why they're doing it. They're trying to their base is terrified. They're terrified of opposition. They're terrified of people that believe in freedom of assembly. They're terrified of people that read books. They hate college educated. They hate black. They hate Hispanic. He feeds them a steady diet of who to be afraid of. MS-13, right? Be afraid. I mean, like, where the hell is MS-13 anyway? I just, I don't even.
Yeah, nobody's ever heard of him until Trump got in office. One more thing that bugs me about Trump. Does he know the meaning of what a freaking hoax is?
Oh, yeah, that was.
He misuses that word every fucking day. He doesn't know what a hoax is.
Yeah, well, I keep trying to wake up thinking that this whole last 2 years has been a hoax. It's all been a badass dream, So, but thank you. I appreciate you, JT. Thank you for calling us.
All right, babe.
Thank you. Yeah, Jennifer in Sacramento.
Hi, Randy.
Hi.
I've been thinking about this whole insurgence or surge of Republican support coming, and they're calling it the big backlash to the Me Too movement. And what I actually think that is Trump has empowered all those men who in their past have done some form of rapey kind of thing, or
they are rather
sexual assault.
rapey. I mean, Rob Porter, he beat his wife.
Exactly.
And, yeah, I mean, you have all these rapey guys. You have Donald Trump himself being accused of rape by his first wife. You have Donald Trump being accused by 20 women who say that he inappropriately, grabbed them by the P word. He admits that he did it. I mean, I don't get this. I don't get why, any woman. I don't get why any woman would, say that they could vote for him. I don't get it.
Well, and the other thing, so what I was thinking is, there's this Me Too movement, and for Trump, they are the I did movement because they did that. They did that to women, and Trump is saying it's okay that you did it. We're clearing your conscience. We're powering it through. And the other thing too is I look at Kavanaugh's wife. She's a freaking Stepford wife.
No. You know what his wife is? His wife is totally political. His wife was she worked for W. She was W's secretary. She worked in the White House. Yes, she went to UT. She's also one of these, devout believers, and she knows where all the bodies are buried. She's
sure she does.
Oh no, she does, and she just sits there and quietly, acts submissive to her husband, etc., etc. But no, she knows everything. This woman was in the White House the whole time W was torturing people. The whole time he was warrantlessly wired. She knows everything. She just, So yeah, she's just she's part of the clan. You know what I mean? She's part of them. She's not. God. She's not Stepfordy at all. She totally gets what she needs to do, and that's just sit there and nod and look all aggrieved.
Yes, and just like my husband is an angel.
They all are angels. They're married to us. You got to see the good. You got to see the good in that.
Yeah.
I'm choking on those words. Yeah, no. So, but Lindsey Graham, I just want you to know, Lindsey Graham actually said this. This is so sick. He said, quote, Brett Kavanaugh is the slut whore drunk of the story. What? So in Lindsey Graham's mind, somebody had to be a slut whore drunk. Go to randyrhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy a stinking podcast.